Empowerment Congress, where today we will educate, engage, and empower around something that affects all of us, which is the governor's race. I will uh, let you know that you will notice there are some backgrounds that say Empowerment Congress Giving Tuesday. You see a couple of folks have it as their background. Just a reminder that today is Giving Tuesday, so if the good Lord moves you in your spirit, we would be so grateful for you to continue this work of civic engagement, and your donations could help. Um, to begin our time together, I want to introduce our co-chair, Vincent Harris, and our founder for their remarks, and then we will get into the agenda.
Well, I'll defer to my elders.
Very kind of you, Vincent, to elevate me in that manner or denigrate, depending on what your real intent is. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to this stand up committee on government reform and accountability. Um, it's been uh, remarkable how the attendance has sustained itself over the life of the effort emanating from the um, retreat, I'm sorry, the summit in January of this year. And here we are headed toward January of 26, and the working group that goes by government reform and accountability, co-chaired by Pastor Eddie and Vincent Harris, has really done a remarkable job of educating and engaging of those. And the next step, obviously, then is to be empowered. And so, my words are thanks to you for hanging in. We take the point that your presence means that something here is happening worthwhile. And to the extent that that is the case, we want to do uh, more of that. And we beseech you then to help us elevate. There's a lot to be done. We can bring our own creative imaginations and solutions to this work of reform and accountability. We're all about it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So it is my task, I guess, this evening to have a brief presentation, and I will try to make it as brief as possible to discuss why we are focusing in our upcoming summit scheduled for January 17th of 2026 on a gubernatorial debate that will feature the major announced candidates for the duration of what is likely to be about an hour and a half to 2 hour long candidate forum. The forum is going to be moderated by Tavis Smiley. We anticipate that it will be simulcast over the airwaves of KBLA 1580 Talk Radio, and it will occur at the California Science Center in the Locher Conference room that can accommodate about 500 people. So we are putting a lot of effort into this. It will mirror the summit and candidate forum that we held in 2018. Of course, that was the last time that there was an open seat for the governorship. Most of the major candidates, both Republican and Democrat, were in attendance, including the current incumbent, Gavin Newsom. It was an interesting affair insofar as the attendance, because There were those in the audience that reflected not only the diversity of the community, but the diversity of political opinion. And I need not remind you that in 2018, we were 2 years, 1.5 year or so into the first Trump administration. And I think it's safe to say, certainly there is video of it, that there were folks in the MAGA movement who showed up, to their credit, in order to express their support for the candidate or candidates of their choice. So we expect that there will be a similar vigorous discussion of the issues. And so in preparation of that, we are going to have a discussion about the importance of California on the national scene, and why we think and what the governor's office actually does. Some people may not be fully aware of all the things that a governor can do, and it is our task today to try to share that information with you all.
Just let me break in for a second, if I may, Vincent. Many of you uh, know Vincent in his capacity here, and prior to that, as my chief of staff when I was on the board of supervisors. But prior to that, with me in the Senate and the Assembly as the chief deputy, uh, he was on the cabinet of then Governor Gray Davis, serving in the role of Vincent.
Undersecretary for Cabinet Affairs.
So has broad knowledge and understanding. So what you're about to hear is not simply book learning, as my grandmother would describe it, but his actual experience of serving um, in state government at the
So,
executive level. Mm-hmm.
so the theme of thank you, sir. The theme of
Yes, sir.
our summit is a forum to unlock participatory democracy. And that illustrates the Empowerment Congress's commitment to civic engagement and to the principles of participatory democracy, reciprocal accountability, and intentional civility. All of these terms are located on our website. I think I've dropped in the chat what we mean by civic engagement, how we define it in the Empowerment Congress. But these notions of participatory democracy, intentional civility, and reciprocal accountability are critical to the work of civic engagement. This, of course, is a copy of the flyer that is currently out announcing the event, encouraging folks to save the date. You will note that we have listed the photographs of the three confirmed as of today candidates that we know definitely will be attending. Superintendent of Public Instruction Tony Thurmond is attending. Former Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa has confirmed his attendance, and former California State Controller Betty Yee will be there. I might mention that I worked very closely with Betty Yee in the Davis administration. She was the deputy director for the Department of Finance, and it was a joy to work with. So what is the significance of this race, particularly as it relates to the nation to Project 2025 and Agenda 47 and the role of a governor. On this page, and I won't bother to go to the actual website where this is located. I wanted to post this as a document that is a very, very good resource for people who just want to get acquainted with the basic facts, governmental facts related to California governor. It's produced by the Legislative Analyst Office. It's a nonpartisan office. This CalFax is dated to 2024. It's updated every 2 years, and it covers the topics that are listed in the table of contents. And I've selected a few illustrative slides out of the, I don't know, maybe 70 or so graphs that exist that help to put California in the sort of national spotlight, as well as to highlight some of the issues that the next governor will have to address. Please note that among states, California is in the 90th percentile in terms of income. And as people oftentimes say, were California its own country, we would rank fourth in the world. So if California were independent of the United States, it would be the fourth largest economy in the world. Anybody know what the other three are? Okay, trivia question. We can come back to it. One of the reasons that California is significant is that technology drives help to drive the economy. And this lists the categories in which a lot of those technology jobs occur. However, California, like the rest of the country, is also impacted by enormous disparities in income inequality. It is reflected in what I think the supervisor would characterize as what's the word I'm looking for? Where it is you interact with other
Or intersectionality.
intersectionality. I had it in my brain and I couldn't get it out. But homelessness is associated with issues of poverty, of discrimination, of the wealth gap that exists that's highly racialized, and a bunch of other issues that folks can think of. And California appears to be one of the place where that leads the country in homelessness. Part of that housing insecurity is based on the high cost of housing. And as you can see, the average cost of a two-bedroom in the rest of the United States is $1,400. In California, it's $2,225, and these are 2024 numbers. Obviously, this has an impact on the diversity of the state. California is among the most diverse in the country, and this gives you a sense of what the distribution of the population looks like by race and ethnicity. Now, California has a huge budget, over what, $230 billion state budget, and a lot of the health and human service programs are funded from multiple sources. And this chart gives you an indication of from where a lot of that funding comes. So if you move over to maybe the fifth bar, you see that the Medi-Cal chart shows that the vast majority of money that funds Medi-Cal comes from the federal government. The federal government program is called Medicaid. Medi-Cal is the California variant of that. So Medicaid cuts will have a significant impact on the California state budget, in as much as California receives 157 or has a budget for Medi-Cal of $157 billion, and well over half of that comes from the federal government. This was a slide that I thought was important because folks need to understand public education and the role that it plays, and the impact that um, it has on student achievement, and the disparate impact that it has on people of color and low-income individuals in the state. The top chart indicates how many, the percentage of students that don't meet state standards. The the lighter blue is at or above state standards. So you see that until the 11th grade, more people are below standard than meet the state standard. Oops, sorry about that.
Mm.
The lower left-hand chart suggests another way of looking at how low-income students are achieving. And then the graduation rates are discussed in the chart on the lower right. This is a distribution of the poverty in the state of California. Note that in the San Joaquin Valley, which is also the reddest part of the state by political partisanship, it is the highest in poverty by region. So now we want to talk a little bit about the governor's office and the role of the governor. As you know, the incumbent, that is the person that currently holds the office, was elected in 2018, reelected in 2022. He survived a recall attempt in 2019, and he previously served as lieutenant governor from 2010 to 2018. And of course, before that, he was mayor of San Francisco. In a nutshell, what does the governor do? The governor oversees the executive branch. That is, all of the departments and agencies of the state government, with the exception of the University of California, which has is at least independent by virtue of the state constitution. And the executive branch also consists of all of the other offices that are, or departments that are overseen by the Constitution, by other constitutional officers. This is a chart, and I know it's difficult to see, but it does give you a sense of just how vast the executive branch is. In this case, this is a organizational chart for the governor's office itself. And it gives you a sense of the individuals by name of the area and the areas that they cover. Again, I know that it's difficult to see, but you can go and Google governor's organizational chart or state organization chart, and you will find these documents online. So what is the executive branch? It's the branch of government that's responsible for the overall governance of the state. And in countries where there's separation of power, the executive branch is responsible for enforcing and executing the laws, as distinct from the judicial branch and the legislative branch. The judicial branch interprets the laws and interprets the division of authority between the different branches, and the legislative branch makes the law. It legislates. As I indicated earlier, the governor heads the executive branch of government. The governor also has other responsibilities. They propose budgets. Governors propose, legislate, the legislature disposes. So the governor proposes how to fund and what to fund, and the legislature determines whether they're going to do so or not, or do its own thing. The governor also has the power to adjudicate pardon adjudicated criminals. He has the power to make judicial appointments. I might also add he makes appointments to other agencies and of the state, including to the University of California Board of Regents, the CSU Board of Trustees, and the California Community Colleges Board of Governors. The governor can also create some laws through the power of the executive order. This is the chart that reflects the executive branch of government. And you can see that line that from the top where it says the people of California through the governor's office, the vertical line that extends to the long horizontal line uh, is connected to all of the departments and agencies that make up the state government. The ones that don't have lines in the upper left quadrant are the independent offices independent of the governor's authority, or I should say departments that are independent of the governor's authority. And the bigger box that has the bold print is the actual office of the governor itself and the key staffers located right there. At one time, my name was in that box. Um,
Yeah, that was funny.
yeah, what was funny to me,
Yeah.
I I won't trouble you with a story that I find hilarious. In
Mhm.
any event, what are the duties of the governor? They execute the laws of the state. They fill positions throughout the executive branch, as well as some judicial vacancies and the newly created judgeships. And then they submit proposals. Now, January 10th, the governor will submit a proposal. Later in the meeting, I'm going to put in the chart a webinar that's being held by the Center for Budget and Policy priorities for it's a nonprofit entity, and they are organizing a webinar so that people can understand how the state budget is organized and what the process is. Anybody that's interested in this should certainly consider attending. I saw Nyabingi on the Zoom earlier. Nyabingi, I would also recommend that those who are interested and concerned about what's happening at the Martin Luther King Community Hospital relative to its budget and funding should understand the state budget process and see if folks can be mobilized to participate in that webinar.
Hershey, thanks. I'm here.
The other thing the governor does is sign or veto bills. He also has the authority to reduce or eliminate any item of appropriation that is in the budget. That's called a blue pencil. That is, before he signs it, he and the staff go through the budget line item by line item and can make edits to the appropriations. He serves as the commander in chief for the National Guard and is the official representative of the state when it comes to relationships with other states as well as the federal government. And by virtue of our federal system, also has standing in international arenas from a sort of a policy and advisory sort of way. So you may know that he attended the climate summit in Brazil last week to extol the virtues of the state of California in its effort to deal with climate. That covers the bulk of the presentation. I did want to say one thing, and that is that we we work in a system of federal government where the federal government has certain authority as articulated in the Constitution of the United States. The state government has certain authority, and then counties and local governments have additional authorities. What we have seen over the past 11 months is an effort on the part of the chief executive at the federal level to assume more authority than uh, certainly was contemplated by the founders, and in the process, step on the role and authority of state governments. We particularly see that in the mobilization that the Trump administration has attempted with regard to the National Guard and immigration enforcement. There's one other power that he has that will have a significant influence over the next administration, and that is the how the federal government funds or finances state programs. There's considerable leverage because typically federal funds come with strings attached. And he has the ability, with a compliant Congress, to attach strings to those funds in a way that may not be acceptable to California state government or the people of this state by virtue of who we elect. Let us recall that at one point earlier this year, his Department of Homeland Security indicated that she didn't care what the socialist mayor of Los Angeles wanted to do, that she was not going to let a socialist in Los Angeles determine how enforcement was going to occur for immigration. And frankly, didn't much care that the people of Los Angeles voted for the mayor. And so there has been an effort to extend the authority of the federal administration as deep down into government as possible. The last thing I'll say to illustrate that point is that most of the federal funds that go into the public health department are slated to be cut. And so the county public health department is looking at pretty significant reductions in the coming year. And those are likely to continue over the course of the next gubernatorial administration. So how the state responds to that and how the governor responds to that is extremely important. With that, I'll conclude my remarks and turn it back over to Pastor Eddie.
Thank you, Vincent, for that uh, in-depth analysis of what the governor's office capacity is and what's at stake in this election. And so, if you heard that information and you thought, how can I get involved? What can I do to affect what the next governor is doing? One way we want to do that is through a forum. And so our forum, Unlocking Participatory Democracy, is a place where we get to actually ask the governor about these questions, right? That your voice and you showing up, we know, can I be candid on here, that Black folks in California population has shrunk, right? But we are the tipping point of what making sure people can get elected. And so your voice does matter in this election. And so we want to invite all of you out to join us for the summit. Our goal is to really hear what is the agenda for the governor and how they're planning on fighting and maintaining the stability of California. How do they plan on maintaining the stability of minorities, especially the Black community in California, as in the new administration? Are we at the table or are we on the menu? Is the question that we want to ask for the new governors for the candidates that want to be governor, and then letting them know what are the conditions we expect to live in our society. And so One thing that we always learn in organizing is that you don't want to be loud and wrong. You want to be loud and right. So you now, Vincent has shown you a little bit about what the governor does. And to really put a pin on that point, we want to do a little bit of engagement. And that engagement will come by way of, and Courtney, let me know if you're there. I believe this is where I'm going to get ready to photo the Vincent so that we can talk about a poll. What's going to happen is we want to poll you on the issue. You know, the government, I don't know about you, but when Vincent put up that slide of all the departments under the governor, it was a lot. So we want to make sure we want to narrow that down. So we want to invite you all now just to click what to rank for us, what issues you want us to talk most about at this forum uh, for us. Uh, about I'll give you 2 minutes or so. Go ahead and rank that for yourselves.
Pastor Eddie, it might be useful to
Read them out.
just, yeah, let people know what the issues we put it on the agenda as
The
well.
issues that we have on
These
the
are broad categories. Yeah.
yeah. So the issues that you see here are homelessness, housing insecurity, public safety and constitutional policing, environmental protection issues, issues around healthcare and coverage, access and disparities. Remember that Medi-Cal, Medicare conversation that Vincent just told us about, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those for those folks who are saying, are we going to pass reparations bills or not? That's where you will find yourself. For those folks saying, are we going to put the James Lawson, Dolores Huerta curriculum in schools? That's your, or you can vote. Um, Voting rights, ballot access, and election administration, quality of life issues, uh, taxation, regulation, and job creation is another category. So, you know, we pay some of the highest taxes. We are some of the most earning states. Do you like that? Do you think we should change that? There's some questions about that. Child care. I don't know about you, but all my friends say that child care is a cold car payment. Is that okay? Do you want universal child care? Do you believe in public education? Do you believe in the California university system? Should we make it more free? Should education be more accessible? Student debt, what can we do about that? And then immigration, we know we have the ICE raids going on, but there's also civil rights abuses that are happening, targeting of Black and brown officials across the state. What do you want to see going on there? Please rank those for us. I believe there's 24 of you on the call, so we should at least have 22 answers. I'll give you another 2 minutes or so of that. It says only 5 of you have participated so far. So let's try to at least get to 50%. Let's try to at least get 11 of you to participate in this. Take the time to select what you need.
Can we bring that back up on the screen? I think may have to stop for some of us.
The poll or
Yes, yes.
Courtney, can you help us out there?
Yeah. If the agenda is on the screen, then the candidate questionnaires or issues and priorities are listed there.
Did removing the screen share help people see the poll again? I actually don't know how to solve that problem, unfortunately.
Mm, it depends on the device. 'Cause I had no difficulty. Both were up at the same time.
I cannot submit for some reason.
Oh, go scroll down, Mary, and keep clicking all the way up to 10.
Courtney, if you um, Courtney, if you click get QR code, a QR code comes up you can share on the screen for folks too if they want to use their phone.
Just a little enhancement to Vincent's excellent presentation. Uh, all politics is local. Um, Local government is where the rubber hits the road. Uh, Counties of Los Angeles happen to be the subdivisions of the state, some 58 of them. And in that connection, a lot goes on in counties, just like the state. Has a very robust economy in the world economy. The county has a very significant place in the United States of America, would be ranked number 9 if it were a state. So this is a county that has considerable influence, ranked 17 in the world economy. And it's probably more anomalous than any form of government. Tripartite government that Vincent makes reference to, with the issue of executive, legislative, and judicial branches. And that's mirrored through city governments across the country, legislatures across the uh, country. Um, you know, Often a bicameral house, 2 houses, an assembly and a senate, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, the only exceptions to that I could think of is the local government in the form of county government, where there is a legislative branch and a an executive branch that is essentially combined. Um, so the board of supervisors in your county is effectively the president and Congress, the governor and the legislature, uh, the mayor and the city council in one. And in addition to that, it has quasi judicial authority. So when you think about the DA, they're under the board. The budget is controlled by the board of supervisors. The public defender is appointed by the board of supervisors. The chief probation officer, all these judicial roles. The sheriff's budget is under the board of supervisor, although the sheriff is elected, although the DA is elected. So this is the most anomalous form of government with which I'm familiar. And in a couple of years, it will change owing to the election that will have, for the first time in the history of the county, a executive chief executive officer that is elected. And let me assert that it will be second only to the governor of the state of California in terms of influence and power. Not accountable to the governor, but whoever this person is, they will have the capacity to make it snap, crackle, and pop. Some will argue that it will be a better job. Why? Because you don't have to deal with 9. The governor has to deal with 40 senators and 80 assembly persons. That's a whole lot more to contend with. So I think it's useful to think about issues at the state level against the backdrop of the lived experience of the local level, in terms of Vincent talking about the impact in health. 3 departments in this county: the Department of Health Services that runs all the hospitals, the 5 campuses, and the clinics, et cetera, ambulatory care centers, outpatient clinics. And then you have Department of Public Health, which is another piece that has all the public health entities, does the inspections and immunizations, and then you have the Department of Mental Health. So this is a massive form of government that makes it very interesting against the backdrop of budget cuts as they come from both the state and federal government. So what's at stake here in terms of issues related to Medi-Cal, obviously emanating from the state, but then how from the federal government, but how it is interpreted and then applied by the state government puts the county in a very tough spot in terms of Medicare and Medi-Cal issues. Okay, I was just trying to help you all get through your survey. I'm going back to sleep now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I think the survey results are in. Courtney, I can't
And
read.
the survey says
You read this.
No, I must
All right.
have moved it.
all right,
There's some
all
look
right, all right, Courtney, what you got?
that you tried.
Courtney, do you have control or do I?
We can both control it, but I was trying to click correctly. So the blue
Blue.
on the left reflects the number of people who selected that answer as the top priority. The most is homelessness, followed by looks like public safety. No, I'm sorry, healthcare. Those are tied, and then public safety and voting rights would be the four.
For top.
Yes. So homelessness with 6, healthcare with 6, public safety with 4, voting rights with 3. And those are just who the highest ranking for people who selected it as the top priority.
Got it.
So our goal in conducting this survey was, I think, basically twofold. First was we've been steadily evaluating our own effort at producing these meetings and thinking of ways to make them more interactive so that we can solicit your perspective and do it in a way that can be aggregated and shared among all of the participants. The second goal was to identify the top 3 or 4 issue areas and then to consider breaking up into breakout rooms for the next 15 or 20 minutes and ask the participants in those rooms to think of questions. Were they Tavis Smiley or members of the media panel who will be presenting questions to the gubernatorial candidates? What would they ask? So if you were Tavis Smiley and Antonio Villaraigosa was across the way from you, he's running for governor, and if you were interested in homelessness and housing insecurity and affordability, what question would you ask him? Similarly, if you were Tony Thurmond and you had concerns about healthcare, what question would you pose? Jolly, I see that you have your hand up.
Yes, I have a quick question. I was wondering, who among how many candidates will we be actually interviewing? Will it only be just one candidate, Tony? Or will we get a range of other panelists?
Right. So when I was on when I did the presentation, I showed the save the date flyer. We have 3 confirmed candidates, and we are in the process of impaneling 3 or 4 journalists who will pose the questions to the candidates.
Okay, that would just be Tony, right?
Pardon me?
We'll be just asking the questions to Vera Lugosa only.
No, no, no. All of the candidates will be asked questions,
Okay.
and they may be asked the same question and asked to respond. We've not yet worked out the details of the format. In 2018, as I recall, all of the candidates were given an opportunity to respond to the same question. I
Uh,
think that's
just,
correct.
that is correct, but the quick answer is that to get a preview of some of what will happen on the 17th, on the Empowerment Congress website is a full presentation of what was conducted when Viragosa, Newsom, John Chang, etc., uh, along Easton and others were the candidates. So if you were to go to the Empowerment Congress website, you can get a real good look at that. And um, Courtney, if you have the capacity to drop it in the chat, um, that would be useful to do. So you'll see what we do and how we do it. And I think you will. It was a 26th summit. It's in the chat. Click on it, and you'll have a full example of the power of what we mean when we say educate, engage, and empower.
Okay. The reason why I got confused was because Vera Lugosa's name seems to reign as one of the spotlight candidates on the flyer. So I was just wondering if it was just going to be about him connecting with the constituents or possible constituents. So,
There are 3 names on the flyer. No one is given any particular priority consideration.
okay.
In other words, they are there by alphabetical order. Thurman, Viragosa, and Yee. When the additional candidates weigh in, the order will change. It will be maintained in terms of being alphabetized. This is a nonpartisan forum, and no one who will participate in the forum by way of interviewing the candidates or in any shape, form, or fashion will have endorsed a given candidate prior to the event. So everybody will be um, clear, including yours truly. I don't endorse candidates before we do our summits. Long-standing policy of 20 years.
Thank you, sir, for clarifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as I was saying, we have an opportunity now. I'd like to get a sense of what your desires are of moving into breakout sessions where folks can decide, can talk to one another, think about what questions they might want to ask. Courtney, we good with that?
Yes.
So is there any instruction you want to give?
I will open breakout rooms in just a second, and you should get a pop-up on your screen that allows you to choose a breakout room based on those top four that were just outlined. So I've just clicked open. And if you cannot locate that button or it doesn't pop up for you, you can send a note in the chat or say aloud which room you'd like for me to assign you to, and I can do that.
Okay, nothing showing up so far here, Courtney. Anyone else have anything on their screen?
I don't have anything either.
Okay, the other option is if you go down to the bottom
Mine
of your
just says join a
window.
breakout room, but it doesn't give the topics.
Interesting. What happens when you click join breakout
Oh,
room?
it's a joint breakout room. Okay. Oh,
Right on.
it gives you an option, Joan, if you click on it, which one you want to go to.
Well,
Click on it,
I
and
clicked
then
it, but nothing happened.
if you click on the join the breakout room,
I clicked it and now it's gone.
something should come up and give you the four options from which to choose.
That
Which
didn't
one would
happen.
you like to go to, Joan?
I'll just do randomly, Courtney.
There's
Where do you believe the 2020 election was rigged? So if you say yes, then it's clear where you stand politically in on the spectrum. If you say no, that's also an indication of sort of what your position is. So those are the questions that we came up with.
Thank you, Vincent. I put a note in the chat. If you were a note taker in your group, please put your questions in the chat so we can save it. Who would like to speak for the Jolly Clever? Which group were you in?
I was in the homeless group.
All right. Would you like to share what y'all talked to the questions y'all had in the homelessness group?
Oh, wow. There were a number of questions. Well, my question was how would we determine if a politician really sees the disparities of African Americans dealing with that are impacted with homelessness, and if so, what do they intend to do with it, with the about the problem, since um, Black people primarily are the ones who are homeless, and the ones who are at least represented in the office government.
Wonderful question. Around disparity.
Uh, uh, Alonzo had a number of questions he raised. On your way in, Alonzo, as well as Bridget.
While they're doing that, Jolly, can you put your question in the chat so we can we can record it?
Yes, I'll go
Yeah,
ahead
let me
with that.
get those questions in here.
Yeah, Alonso had a
Um,
lot of questions in the chat. He
In
was
the
very
chat, yeah.
thorough,
yeah,
very thorough.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there I feel like they were also just following off of Bridget's question that Bridget raised too, right? Bridget, if you want to raise that question around how homelessness was connected to um the housing disparities and a couple other things you connected it to while I put these in the chat, I think that'll be
Right.
good.
I thought Honorable MRT did a great job with my question. It was related to the intersectionality
Right.
and impacts derived from homelessness that then impacts the mental area, the safe area, the health area. And so if Honorable Thomas, if he could articulate that value on my behalf, I appreciate that question, please.
Well, I think you kind of formulated it in the following way, Bridget. Um, And it goes to the accountability question in part that Nia raised. In other words, if homelessness is recognized as a major problem in the state of California, since it has the largest homeless population in the nation, New York and Los Angeles, that is, New York and California, are thought to be neck and neck in terms of homelessness. What is the governor, through executive order and or the ordinary processing of legislative matters, prepared to do to hold the respective cabinet secretaries and departments accountable for leaning in terms of reducing the crisis? In other words, it came up more than once in the conversation. What are people doing? Mary said, what are the results? So the question to many of these persons who are in fact and have been office holders, what have you done for me lately? Don't tell me what you're going to do. Tell me what you've done. You've been in office. So I think that's some of what was there and how it touches everything from public safety to public health to mental health to transportation to land use. And the question is, Madam Governor, Mr. Governor, how do you cause this issue, this crisis, to take a role of prominence in your administration?
Mm-hmm. Good.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
Knowing full well that Governor Newsom, I raised the question, how many of you are going to be willing to do as much as Newsom has, in light of the fact that he has done more than any other governor in recent memory? I have no doubt about that. And Mary adds to that, what did he do that you thought was effective, and what did he do that you thought was not so effective? Therefore, what would you do to make it better? I think it was Mary or one of the other participants. So we had a very robust conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, I would like to add that and Murphy did bring up something around that I absolutely love, or around like housing as a human. Well, housing as a right, right? She said like
Yeah, the
the
right
right
to
to house.
housing.
Yeah, the right
Right
to
to
housing.
housing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And you're right, Joanne, about public safety. No question. More people die in LA County as a result of homelessness than is the case in terms of people who die as a result of homicides in this county.
Which ties to the environmental social
Exactly.
justice, right? Because of those
Those are
negative
issues.
negative
Right.
externalities.
That's right.
Interesting thing that I found out too during this call is that most homeless death is by car.
Yeah.
You said it was by
As much as 30% vehicular.
Yes.
vehicular. Yeah. And there was one more question I think that Bridget raised as well around policy. Was that?
Yeah, it
Bridget,
was
was that?
related to how, because I am a state regulator and I write policies, and we have a requirement under the environmental social justice that is included within all of the policies that we write. But unfortunately, I don't see a requirement where there's a need to have a homelessness as a standard requirement in even the local policies that are written or the regulations that are written.
Thank you for that. We got about a minute left. So are there public safety questions that were raised as well? or health questions that you want
We
to?
had, we,
You want to do it, or Kenny, or you want me to do one real quick? Basically in public safety, we brought up Kenny and Bishop and Sharon or someone else brought up the fact that we have about 12 different areas when it comes to violence and issues of public safety. And they vary from your sexual assaults to the domestic violence to the gun violence. So it's a variety of them, but we came to the conclusion that poverty is the main driver. Poor mental health is the behavioral influencer in a lot of these things. And the third one would be the solution has always been incarceration. So we would want to know, number one, how are they going to support the communities in building the things that we need to build? Because the solution for poverty is to be able to give people something constructive to do. It's hard to tell a young gangbanger to come and work at McDonald's for whatever they pay, but you need to have the community has to join together and put forth the policies and the processes and the tactics that we want to use. We want them to support us because we're still looking at 209 that says you can't even say Black when we have the bulk of the issues and we have the bulk of the incarcerated people. So how do you navigate the language so that you can support us supporting ourselves and helping you help us? Because it comes down to the whole county. It's like a hole that we keep having to pour money in because incarceration is such a big money maker for them. So politically, they keep bouncing it up. But we would need to come together as a whole to write these policies, to track the numbers. They said data. And so, yeah, one of the things Let's Make It Happen do, and we literally working with Artie so we can do data for ourselves and have the translation, but do they pay attention? How do we get them to pay attention so that the money follows addressing the issues?
And that's one of the questions that we
Health.
would like to address to the candidate forum is that with the power that the governor has, will they address the crises when it comes to public safety as the data speaks? And a lot of times the data speaks, but the money doesn't respond, nor does the governance of our county and our city, because the data speaks to where the money should go, but it seems like the money doesn't go where it's really needed. So I think the challenging question to the governor is, will you have the integrity to deal with the data as it's given?
And will they let people like us be advocates for it? Because like in reentry, we have had to fight so hard for the policies, even to try to get some decent quality of life after you've locked up these brothers. That's why they were saying they're not doing 5-year sentences anymore. They're doing 10 and above. But we have to pick up the carnage when they get back. And when we say something needs to be done, what kind of administration are we going to have that's really going to listen to the people that have the lived experience, that are in the fight with them?
We have time for
because you all outlined the various violence categories, domestic violence that we don't always talk about, but significantly, it was a discussion in terms of mental violence. And I thought that was interesting.
That's right.
Yeah, because there's when we talk about violence, the first thing we talk about in LA is gang violence. That's the first thing we talk about. But like the bishop said, that's not only physical violence, there's not only sexual violence, but there's also emotional violence, psychological violence, there's cultural violence, financial abuse, neglect. There's a whole bunch of violence that aren't even addressed, that are the root causes and not the symptom. So we continually investing in broken systems, and it doesn't make sense because we haven't violence, gang wars has gone on for years. We're having, the community violence, all this has been going on, but we don't go to any of the root causes, and we keep locking up our Black and brown youngsters for eternity. So we just have to take a look at that. And we ain't even talking about the police violence and the state sanctioned violence either.
which all stems from that mental violence. And I think we have to address in California our incarceration system, because our incarceration system is trauma camps. They're constantly inflicting trauma upon the inmates. So when the inmates come back home, they're traumatizing our community.
Let me,
You know, that I wanted to bring up, that we could go back and revisit what we did when we had the Public Safety Committee, when we were working on defunding the police. We had this conversation, and a lot of the things we proposed then still stand today, and that's what we need. We've seen the very little movement, like the police having some mental health people go out, and they've talked about putting some things in place, but they quite haven't caught hold. So we need to lift that story, those needs up again.
Well, I think the challenge is to formulate questions. The discipline is to formulate questions to be asked of them, to see what their response is, and not so much assert what our opinions are, but to solicit theirs and evaluate accordingly. There's a certain kind of a discipline that attaches to that.
So would it help if we
If
pulled
I may add, please.
the discussion so we can turn them into questions? Because I don't know if any of us were thinking questions to ask, but we did kind of capture the information that was discussed.
Right.
And we can submit
If I may add, I would like to ask the question pertaining to public safety, and that would be, would you be, or would the new candidate have anything in place for eliminating different officers from different states to serve in California and other states? That's part of the problem as well. All the officers that cater to Californians are not from California. They're rotating from state to state.
Well, those that have engaged in abusive behavior are now being tracked pursuant to a legislation by Senator Steve Bradford. So that's well worth looking up. But the question might very well be extended and framed in terms of the issue that you are driving at. And I think that's doable in terms of public safety related questions. On the issue of domestic violence, ask them. This is the intersectionality issue, public safety and homelessness. Ask the governors, the would-be governors, what role does domestic violence play in homelessness? To what extent is it a contributing factor? See what kind of IQ they got on the question of domestic violence.
Monique, listen, I know that this is a very good conversation. I saw Jolly's hand up earlier, but she's now left the meeting. I'm going to ask Monique to make a final comment, and then before we adjourn, I just wanted to draw everyone's attention to the information that's in the chat. Monique?
Okay, thank you, and I appreciate being invited into this meeting. So I wanted to speak just briefly about the public safety and then the Black Student Achievement Program within the LAUSD. Now, there's a portion of that money that was, I guess, allocated to not just start that program at $100 million, but then they also added an additional $50 million, which came from defunding the school police, right? Okay, now there's been a lot of pushback by the sergeant over the school police. He's saying that there's particular, because the BSAP program, they also ask that that the district will hire, individuals from the community for the safety of our children. And so the public safety, the chief, he's really pushing back and saying, well, they're not trained. They not qualified to, oversee the safety of children. And so he wants to defund that program and pull that money. And then now you're talking about the public, now I don't want to say the public, but the people within the community that is familiar with those students in those school site areas like Washington, Dorsey, whatever, Manual Arts, those schools in the South region and even some in the West region. Now, what about employment factors and then keeping our children safe? And then some of our parents are actually, hired in those positions and, they want to pull the money for that program. So, what's the deal? Where we stand at? Because we're not on the menu, so we at the table, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good point. I love that.
So
Are we at the table for real?
let's
If I could please, we have second for one more, and I tried to develop this. I'm an educator, foreign language primarily, and have been in a lot of different areas. And I know that in terms of pushing for African Americans to become globally competitive in foreign languages is really de-emphasized. So I would like to propose a question: what new educational policy can be developed in the Department of Education to increase focus and funding to improve access of second language acquisition in order to ensure that African Americans become locally and globally competitive? Well, that's a long one. Yay. I'm willing to write that out.
Okay. That's great.
Yes.
I agree.
I've said that so many times, it's like nobody ever heard it.
So, two things before we conclude, because we do try to conclude as close to 7:30 as possible. But as you can tell, we have some pretty engaging conversations when we get started, and there are folks I know that are looking for opportunities to get some stuff off their chests. I want to start with an announcement about a day of dialogue that is scheduled for this coming Saturday at Sip and Sonder Coffee House in Inglewood. Sharon, do you want to say anything about what is going to happen on Saturday?
We're going to be focusing on healing, but all the various topics that were raised. I think the conversation will continue 2026 at Sip and Sunder, but please come and invite someone this Saturday.
And it's going to be a dialogue where groups of people will be participating in a facilitated conversation around the table, around the questions that have been organized for the dialogue. It's just as important to be able to listen and hear what your neighbors have to say about those issues as it is for you to express your concerns. But this is another opportunity that we in the Empowerment Congress, in conjunction with the Institute for Nonviolence in Los Angeles, believe is an effective way to enhance our communication and understanding of issues that are driving individuals in the community. The second point I want to make is that this coming Saturday is an anniversary that I know you all will appreciate. It is the anniversary of the ratification of the 13th Amendment that abolished slavery. A lot of people think that Juneteenth abolished slavery. No, Juneteenth did not abolish slavery. The ratification of the 13th Amendment abolished slavery. And that ratification occurred in 1865 on December the 5th. The third point I want to make is that earlier in the chat, I placed some information about resources that were relevant to our conversation today. There's a link to the Legislative Analyst's Office, the entity that produced those charts that I shared during my presentation. The California Budget and Policy Center also has information about the role of the governor and the other constitutional offices. That link will also connect you to the webinar on the state budget that is going to be held, I believe, on December the 8th. So if you are at all interested in registering for that webinar, please feel free to do so. And then finally, Cal Matters, which is a publication, has been providing extensive coverage of the governor's race. Their most recent article talks a little bit about the candidates and who's in, who's out, who's appears to be ascending in the polls, who's declining, and so forth. Lastly, I will mention that our next meeting of the Government Reform and Accountability Working Group is December the 16th, 2 weeks from tonight, the third Tuesday of the month. We are going to organize that agenda so that we can continue this conversation and provide additional opportunities to develop questions on some of the other topics, areas that we polled you on earlier this evening. And finally, what we're going to do during that meeting is give you a menu of ways that you can assist our effort in building the crowd for the January 17th candidate forum. We believe that we need to do more to engage you in the efforts to facilitate the broader issues of civic engagement, democratic participation, civility, and reciprocity. So be prepared to help us flesh out the details associated with these questions and to assist us in building the crowd for January the 17th. Thank you all. Appreciate it. See you in a couple of weeks. And don't forget to